Hey y'all, what's up? So it's your girl Sunray coming at you guys with our first episode of Daily Manna. All right, so this is going to be a prophetic word, and it's titled "The Value of Your Oil." So the value of your oil. All right. So first, I'm gonna go over what the scripture is, the scriptural reference. I'm gonna give you guys a background, and then we're gonna go into the lessons that God needs you guys to learn within this hour. All right. Some of you guys may be at the first lesson. Some of you guys may be at the last lesson. Whatever the case may be, you will know what lesson you need to learn because it'll resonate with your spirit. All right. So 2 Kings chapter 4 verses 1 through 7, that is the biblical reference of this story of the widow's oil. But again, we're talking about the value of your oil today. That's the summation of things. Okay. All right. So the background, pretty much you guys may remember the story of the widow where her husband had passed away, right? And her husband was a God-fearing man. However, when he passed away, he had loads of debts that he had to that needed to still be paid off, right? So the wife, she sold everything that they had, and remember, they had 2 sons, and the debtors are like, well, you have to sell your sons to us as well to fulfill the debts and for you to be free from these debts, right? So that was something that the mother did not want to do because she already lost her husband and now she got these last 2 kids left. She didn't want to have to get rid of her kids as well. So she went to Elisha, right? And Elisha asked, how can I help you? All right. So now this is when we're getting into the first lesson. The first lesson that God brought about is doing more with less. So are you doing more with less? All right. Or are you asking God for more, but not doing anything with what you already have? All right. So look, when Elisha asked her what she had, she said, I have nothing but a little oil. She's like, I don't have nothing but a little oil. But we know that back in the day, oil or fragrance, it was very valuable, right? So to her, it's not that she was saying that it wasn't valuable. She's saying like, I only have a little oil. Like I like this little oil, like, yeah, it's worth something, but this is really all I have left. You get what I'm saying? So my question to you is, what is the oil that God has placed in you to become more? Because if we remember correctly, this little oil that she had, it ended up being what she needed to break through this bondage of debt that she had going on, right? Break through this bondage that Satan has placed over you, essentially, right? Okay, so like I said, oil was highly expensive and valuable. So we all have something and or oil that God has placed in us that has the ability to grow into more when we perceive its valuability and use it. So when we perceive our own oil's value and use it, that is how we can become free. That is when we begin to pour, right? We all talk about how God has that oil. We all have a fire burning in us, right? But when that oil increases, it increases with use. All right, so this is the next lesson. It's okay to ask for help. Let me say that again. It is okay to ask for help. All right. So let me listen. God works miracles for his people through his people. I'm going to say that again. God works miracles for his people through his people. Okay. So to be self-righteous doesn't only mean you believe you can do it on your own, but it also speaks of the pride we have when it comes to not only seeking for help, but accepting that help. So it's one thing to seek and ask for help, right? But it's another to accept it. All right. Those are just things that us humans, us prideful humans, can't seem to get down sometimes, right? And if you guys look at her story, the widow, what did she do? She had to seek Elisha for help, because if she didn't seek Elisha for help, she wouldn't have been able to figure out what to do with the little oil she had, right? She had to go to her neighbors and ask them for containers for empty jars. Now, this is a mother that just lost her husband. She has to sell everything. She has a debt. She's probably ashamed. She probably doesn't even feel strong enough to go ask these people for help, but she did it. And sometimes our breakthrough is linked to us asking for help. All right. So, in what ways is self-righteousness keeping you from receiving the miracles of God? I wrote that. In what ways is self-righteousness keeping you from receiving the miracles of God? I mean, we coexist to help one another. We don't, if it was meant for us not to help each other or ask each other for help, I would live on Mars, you would live on Jupiter, your cousin would live on Pluto. Like, we wouldn't need to be on the same planet. But because we coexist, that means that we are supposed to help each other. Sometimes, another thing I wanted to say is that sometimes we know we have the oil, but just not how to use it, okay? And it's okay to ask for help. Like some people in my 101s, all of you guys have oil. You just don't know how to use it yet. And I'm here to help you with that. You get what I'm saying? So it's like that thing where it's like, you have to take a step outside of the ego, outside of the body, and look at the bigger picture. God, I know I have a purpose, and I know it's valuable, but I can't see it necessarily, or I don't know how to use it just yet. God, can you help me? It's nothing wrong with asking for help. All right, that's our second lesson. Our last lesson is pay off your debts. All right, so this smacked me in the face, okay, because this is the lesson I got to learn. So from the prosperity that God gives us with our oil, pay off your debts, okay? We be like, God, it's going to be a debt cancellation and blah, blah, blah. Okay, there may be in some cases where the debt is canceled. However, if God is giving you the finances and the resources to pay off said debts, do it, okay? Because if you guys notice, the widow didn't just be like, oh, well, I got this oil, I'm finna go live life. No, she first went back to Elisha for full instruction. And then she paid off her debts, and then she was free, okay? So a lot of us are keeping these same money spending patterns and different things like that going on when God has already provided us a way to completely be free. So you can do all the extra stuff. You get what I'm saying? So like I said, that lesson hit me, and I'm like, you know what, God, I hear you. So look, we own it. Own it times 10. But again, you guys, with this prophetic word, it's so important to know the value of your oil, okay? Why is it important to know? The first lesson, because you can do more with less. How many of y'all are burning out your oil, burning out your flame, working meaningless jobs, doing things that are taking away so much of your time? You can't spend time with your children. You can't spend time with your family. You get what I'm saying? But then you have this thing that God has placed in you, this vision that God has shown you. You haven't necessarily written it down, but you know exactly what it is that you have to do. You know that you may not have the exact things to make the immaculate vision happen, but you have the things to make a smaller working vision happen. You get what I'm saying? Where you can work with it and over time grow and expand, but you're not doing it. Are you doing more with less? Because God says that to those to whom much is given, much will be required, right? And you cannot despise small beginnings. You have to start somewhere. Second lesson, it's okay to ask for help. So this woman, she had nothing but a little bit of oil. But had she not even professed that from her mouth to Elisha, she would not have been able to get the instruction on how to use her oil and recognizing how valuable her oil was. Because remember, she was just pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring until the jars ran out. If she had more jars, she would have still been pouring to this day. Okay? And she would not have known that she could have used that, the little thing that she thought had no value, to literally break through debt, break through whatever other situation she was going through that was not mentioned in the story, okay? Last lesson, pay off your debt. So if God has given you financial stability, if God has given you an increase in your finances, pay off your debt so that you can free yourself, whether that be credit card debt, whether that be old bills, whatever the case may be. Free yourself, okay? I pray that this prophetic word blesses you guys, and I will talk to you in the next video. Remember, this is Daily Manna, episode 1. Tune in now. Woo!